and welcome to our channel. My name is Paul, and this is our Stardew life. Now, if you'll indulge me for a short time, I'd like to give you a little introduction on who we are, where we come from, and what this channel is all about. But before I tell you about myself and the rest of the family, I need to tell you about a video game. That video game is Stardew Valley, one of many games in the same genre of build a farm, bring it back from nothing, meet the community, get married, have a family. Harvest Moon has been doing it for decades, but Stardew Valley is one that specifically spoke to me and is probably my favorite within the genre. Now, why that game is important to this channel is the beginning, the story, the introduction to what created the character. For those who have played the game, you're obviously aware of how the game starts, but for those who have not, the game starts with you at the deathbed of your grandfather. Your grandfather leaves you a letter and says that when the time is right, when you have become tired of the day-to-day grind, that is when you should open the letter. And then fast forward an undetermined amount of time, and the main character is sitting at presumably their job, working a desk job in an office for a large corporation, and they reach that point where they finally open the letter. And in that letter, it tells of a property that the grandfather had left behind to the grandchild. A property in a small valley where it is away from the humdrum of busy society, modern life, and allows you to just get more in touch with nature. When you get to the property in the game, it is dilapidated, it is overgrown, the house is no more than a shack, and the entire game from that point on is all about taking your own path in rebuilding this homestead, rebuilding the farm, meeting the people in the neighborhood, and eventually getting married and having kids. Which brings you to then our channel. Now in this channel, we're not playing a video game, we are living in an actual home. That home is in a small town on a decent sized plot of land. And unlike the game where the main character was single and eventually gets married in this small village, I did things in the opposite direction. I've already gotten married. I already have a family with children. But we as a unit have moved out here to get away from the big city where we lived before and to hopefully reconnect with, a simpler lifestyle, simpler style of living. And while the wife and myself have been discussing moving to a small town and getting a nice plot of land, we were talking about something a few years into the future. She has a set of criteria she wanted in a house that would check her boxes, and I had a set of criteria that would check my boxes. And then we found this home, this property, and it checked all of our boxes. So much so that when she saw the ad online, she sent me a message and said, "If we get this house, I will move tomorrow." And this was back in the late summer, early fall that she had made that statement. And, we went for it. And this is now our home. We've lived here. We're still getting settled in, but we've been here since end of October, getting settled in as of November. And we've been here for almost 2 months now, slowly getting things settled. And that brings us to the channel itself and what you can expect going forward. What I would like to do is invite each and every one of you to join me as we turn this house into a home, as we turn this property into a homestead. We have a large open field that we have not quite decided what to do with it yet. It would likely be suitable for a pasture animal or two, or potentially use it for crops. There's a big garden on the opposite side of the house that is fairly overgrown and needs some work, but with some elbow grease and some time, we can probably make that a nice, proper garden. Behind the house, there's already 2 standing chicken coops. Whether I want to use these as is, rebuild them, do some maintenance, I haven't decided yet, but there is some work that needs to be done on the fences before we get any chickens. That is certainly something we're looking to do in the spring. And don't get me wrong, I am no expert in farming or homesteading. I don't come from a long line of farmers. I don't come from a long line of outdoorsmen. I was raised by my mother, who was from Manhattan. She wasn't exactly a country girl herself. So I'm going to be learning this all on the fly, and as I learn from my mistakes, I will be teaching my children. My hope is that they, through my mistakes, can learn to do things the right way. If any of you out there watching are people who run a homestead, any advice you have would be amazing. If anyone is familiar with other homesteading channels, let me know. I definitely want to give them a watch because I have been watching homesteading videos now for a while. Any tips, any tricks, any pointers, any potential blunders I can avoid by seeing how other people have done it, that is what the nature of this channel will be. Now, I don't necessarily have a polished recording setup here. I'm using my iPhone because when I tried to use my camera the other day, the lights were causing a flicker that was visible on screen, even though my eyes don't pick up a flicker. Now, I haven't really nailed down the process of how we're going to record everything. We're kind of winging it here. We've already, in the last 2 months, started on a few small projects around the house. The biggest one being we had to build a rail to the deck in the backyard. So I'll be giving you guys a synopsis on how that project went. All the mistakes I made there, the things I learned as a result, the things I won't do again. We got a ton of fallen trees on the property that we need to figure out something to do with the wood. I'm thinking firewood. That'll be what most of it's used for, but I've never used a chainsaw before. I've never split wood with a hatchet before. This is all brand new. My normal job is an IT guy. I'm a technical person. I'm a technician. And I usually sit at a computer all day. I am not in great shape, but I'm hoping that having this property will force me to change, force me to slow down, and force me to live a life that's just more enjoyable, more fulfilling. So I invite you to subscribe. I invite you to join me on this journey. Let me know what you want to see. Let me know how you would do things. If there's anything you want pointers on that I've already figured out, great. If there's anything I'm doing wrong that you can see I could do better, let me know. And I hope you'll join me and my family as we muddle our way through our Stardew life. Have a good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening, and a good night. Take care.